Welcome back to this week of Into the Pages. Join us as we dive into The Rithmatist by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know about you, but this book is giving me serious Harry Potter vibes.
Oh yeah?
I was asking Alyssa to ask when it was published. Do you know?
I don't.
Does it say when it was published in there?
Oh, I'm sure it does. 2013.
Okay, so after Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll explain why more as we go more on our discussion, but not like full-on Harry Potter vibes, but just some similarities that I thought were funny.
So this is like the worst Harry Potter versions. Like if you get accepted to Hogwarts, but you're not a wizard.
Yeah, it's like you're a squib.
Exactly. Like
you're a squib and your dad is Filch. And you go to Hogwarts because your dad works there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, pretty interesting story. I thought at first, so the whole map is the United Isles, which looks pretty much the United States, but they're islands.
Yeah, there's some in there that are actually similar. Like this, they're named the same as a state.
Yeah, like instead of South Carolina, you have like East Carolina.
Yeah, I was gonna see.
You have
like there's Idaho, Wyoming. There's an island called Denver.
Yeah, so some similarities for sure. But there's one called Nebraska.
Yeah. There's even a huge one called Texas, of course. And then they got other ones that are like just named after a city, like Santa Fe.
So when I first saw the map, because I always look at the maps when I start reading a book, I thought it was going to be like not post-apocalyptic, but like in the future, but there's like something crazy happened and they kind of like society reset and then they're kind of rebuilding back.
That's what you were expecting?
That's kind of what I was thinking just by looking at the map, and I was like, oh, it's so similar to the United States and the names are similar, but I think it's just kind of Brandon just kind of took America and used it as his fantasy map. I don't think it really had anything to do, because they had like there was like settlers, and Jamestown was like the first place to get settled. They mentioned Da Vinci, but like in the context of like this world, which has some pretty cool technology.
Yes.
They got like clockwork machines that seem to be two pretty cool things. Like you can make a clockwork machine out of it, and you can turn it into an animal.
Yeah.
And there was like a dragon one. There's like horses and other animals that like.
Yeah, right. That's pretty sick.
And there's even like there was a crab that was like mowing the lawn. And like the lanterns have to be like, so there's like this really cool clockwork technology. It doesn't really dive into it. It's just like, because we're doing this from the perspective of the main character, whose name is what's his name? Joel. From Joel. And it's just kind of like, he mentions these clockwork machines the same way we might like mention electrical lights. He's like, oh yeah, there goes the groundskeeper, and he's turning the thing to the lanterns, turn it on. So I'm kind of like, what are these things? Oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But those pale in comparison to the magic of this world.
Yeah. I personally think that Brandon does is just like a really good job of kind of like showing you the world without outright being like, this is this is that, this is this kind of stuff, this is how this is. Like Joel just in passing is like, oh yeah, he's just taking care of this stuff. To him it's just like, well, whatever, but you're like, what is that?
He's just like noting it. It's not like he doesn't take like all 3 pages to like explain like, oh, these clockwork machines are this and this and this.
Yeah.
So it kind of adds like a level of mystery while like explaining what it is, but also adding a layer of like, what is that? If that even makes any sense. But he goes to a school called Armedius, which is where our story so far is. We're going to cover up to part 3 in this episode. Mm-hmm. So most of the book, it's all been in Armedius, which is a school, like a really prestigious school where pretty much...
Yeah, it's kind of like...
So expensive, like only nobles and their kids go there.
Yeah, it's like if Harvard or one of those really crazy high-up colleges existed 300 years ago or closer to when this...
Yeah, but like back then, because there's still like royalty classes and there's still like... I don't know.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Like what do they call like... It seems like some of their leaders are called like knight senators, which kind of sounds cool.
So it's almost like they've got more than just like the royal family type of thing. They've got some sort of government in place now, but they still treat the people who are in like government positions as if they were royals.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because like some of these kids have allowances, and one of the characters' allowance. Her name is Melody. Her allowance is $1 a week. And that just blows Joel's mind. He's like, that is so... I've never even held $1 before. I think their currency is pretty interesting, too. Their dollar coin is like a clockwork machine in itself. It seems like it's shaped like a coin, but it has like glass on either side so you can see the gears inside. And he's like, that's how you verify its authenticity. And I was like, okay. But anyway, Joel is not one of these rich people. His dad was a chalk maker that died in some accident. What we kind of learn later on that it may not have been exactly an accident, because it kind of comes out when Joel's talking to a professor about it, and the professor's kind of like, oh yeah, it was an accident. Yeah, oh yeah. And Joel's like,
yeah, suspicion.
But then we also learn that what adds a layer of suspicion is apparently Joel's dad was into debt with some like loan shark type people. Because I'm kind of going all over the place, but
yeah, you are. But whatever.
Which is pretty crazy. So maybe that kind of explains it. But yeah. So, anyways, the Joel's dad was close to the principal of the school, and so when he died, the principal kind of felt bad, and so he's letting Joel go to the school on this full ride scholarship. And his mom works kind of nights as a maid,
like a
janitor lady. So he's able to get like this ultra prestigious education for free, but kind of ostracizes him because he talks to people. They're friendly enough. There's not like outright bullying. There's just kind of like exclusions. Like,
yeah,
there's like this big party going on, their big summer cool thing, and
that some like senator's kid is gonna throw, and he's inviting people up to like their manor at some other island for the summer and such.
Yeah, but the kid's pretty clear in why Joel isn't invited, because Joel's kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like, I would like to go. And Joel's like, well, it's like my dad, he has like standards. And like, only like I have to like have connections. So it's kind of like awkward.
Yeah. And then like he gets ditched by one of his other friends because he got invited. And he's like, he doesn't even view it as like, oh, I get to go hang out with the cool kids. It's like, no, it's like he's viewing it as like a possible job opportunity. Like,
yeah, because he's going to like law school, and this kid knows about it, and he's like, if he becomes a night senator, he's going to need a good attorney. So this is like a networking thing for me.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. What sucks for Joel. But more so that sucks for Joel is he loves the magic system in this book, which is Rithmatists. And
he's also like a genius.
Yeah, he's super smart. But he himself is not a Rithmatist. So it's like, it's totally like us. Like if one of us went into Hogwarts and learned all the magic, but weren't able to actually use the magic, that's how Joel is.
Like, imagine like Hermione's level of knowledge without being able to actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
So like,
he could probably literally do what he would literally be the person like, oh, this is how you move your wand, and this is the exact incantation. But if you actually try to do it, nothing would.
Yeah. But they're kind of closed about it. So there's like this Armedius school has like two sections to it. You have like your general students, and you have your Rithmatists. And the Rithmatists are kind of secretive. They don't really let a lot of people see what they're doing. But Joel's kind of, over the years that he's been there, he's snuck into lectures.
Yes.
And he's read as many books as he can.
Yeah, I think this is where we're coming in is the end of his 4th year at this school.
Yeah, we're going right into the summer.
Yeah, so we're stepping into the story where he's already got a reputation as like the non-Rithmatist kid who, like, the Rithmatist teachers constantly have to kick out of their classes because he is always going in there. Yes. And he's always like getting sent to the principal's office and stuff because of this kind of stuff.
Yes.
So he's a really good kid, and he does like almost the opposite of, like, rule breaking. Like, other kids get sent to the office because they're being disrespectful in class or something like that, or they're defacing school property. But no, he gets sent because he's going to classes he shouldn't be going to.
Yeah. And he's also, since he's a genius, he like doesn't do his homework assignments, but he aces the tests.
Yeah.
And it's just because he's like obsessed with learning. He just reads books and learns, and that's like all he has to do.
One thing I am surprised with him is that he not only is he just like really interested in Rithmatist and Rithmatic, I don't know if that's what they call it, but he's super interested in this magic stuff that he sneaks into classes. But it's all learning. He loves mathematics. He likes geometry. He likes history. And all
he's like
this
he likes it
stuff.
so much. He's like ahead, and it's like easy and boring for him, which is a big part of the problem because he didn't really communicate that. Like there's one scene where he's talking to his math professor, and his math professor's like, "You did like 9 out of 45 assignments and got 100% on the test," and like he doesn't say it outright, but he basically accuses him of cheating.
No, he outright accuses him of cheating.
I thought he was like. Joel was like, "You're accusing me of cheating," and then he says like, "Oh, I don't have the evidence to say it outright."
Yeah.
It was like obvious he was saying you're cheating, but
he can't prove
without
it,
saying the words you're cheating.
No, that's right, because they had this whole thing like, we at this school don't make accusations without proof. Like, we get proof.
And so Joel was like, "No, I'll prove it to you." So he whipped out a homework assignment and just started doing it, and he was doing it all in his head so fast that it looked like he was just writing down the answers. So the teacher was even like, "Okay, like if you knew the answers and you're cheating and memorized the answers, how come you didn't write it down?" He's like, "No, I'm doing it. I promise." Like, I'm.
Yeah.
And then so the teacher writes it on the board. He starts writing it, and before he even finishes the problem, Joel gives the answer. And and that's when the teacher's like, "Holy son of a gun!"
Yeah, and then he even he goes as far enough to like correct his teacher, like, "You need to work on your sketches because you're off by this much." And like the teacher gets out his ruler and be like, "Oh my gosh, you knew that just by..."
It was like a few centimeters. It wasn't like a lot. It was like centimeters.
And then what I really liked, I thought was just super cool, is it came out that Joel is just way ahead of the class he was put in.
Yeah, he's in geometry and he knows trigonometry.
Yeah, exactly. So
no.
It was something.
Trigonometry, because he was like, because he was going to.
He tried to get him to go to like his summer study stuff, and he's like, "I already know this, I already know that," and like the teacher went like 3 levels above where he was at, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you must have been bored in my class," and he's like,
which I was actually really refreshed by.
Me too.
Happened because I thought it was going to be like the classic teacher doesn't believe anything, and then he has to like have this obstacle to overcome. But then it was like, the teacher was like, "Oh crap, I was wrong." Like, well, I felt kind of bad for you. Like, you should have said something.
And it was even. That comes up twice. Like there was with his math teacher, and then he later decides to pull this little trick to try to get into a Rithmatist class during the summer.
This is an interesting blend of your classic story that's a kid that takes the world upon his shoulder and then just does everything without consulting adults, and a mix of a kid who wants to do that but also can consult adults at the same time. So it's like a interesting mix of those two. So like to your point, I don't know if we've even talked about Rithmatist, but basically Rithmatist, what it is you have chalk and you can draw and your drawings can come to life, and there's like defenses and you can shoot lines of vigor.
Yeah, you got
like shots.
They give at like the end of every single chapter like a new little bit of how the Rithmatist stuff works, which is super interesting because it's just like this whole new thing.
And there's also a lot of art in this book when they describe duels, they'll still be like, he drew a knight, and it'll show like a picture of a knight. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, Joel really wants to study more of that. He's studied everything that the library has in the general section, and he just wants to learn more. And so he cooks up this plan where, because when the summer comes, since he lives on campus, he has to take a summer elective. And he's hoping to study that summer elective to be studying with the Rithmatist professor. And so he comes up with his initial plan is to go to the professor. His name is Professor Fitch, who's kind of old and more lenient, and one of the ones who doesn't really seem to care or notice that Joel sneaks in his lectures.
Yeah.
So he goes to like try to give him a no asking, but then he gets kind of foiled, but like in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Because like as Joel's there, the Professor Fitch gets challenged to a duel, which I thought was an interesting. We get to kind of see our first look at Rithmatist.
Yeah.
But apparently the school of the Rithmatists have like this rule where like you can challenge anybody, and after the results of the challenge, those 2 people can't be challenged for a year. But anyway, this guy comes back from a place called Nebraska. And apparently in Nebraska, there's what's called wild chalklings. Chalklings.
Yeah.
They're like trying to escape, and apparently they can like messed you up.
Yeah, like this is just classic Sanderson writing, in my opinion. Like stories, because it's like he came up with a story about people chalk and these little animal things that someone drew, can eat your face and kill you.
Yeah.
And they're just chalk. Like, imagine the line of chalk just coming running at you on the wall. You're like, oh, son of a bitch.
I know, and they can like get you, but they're 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
So they're not 3D. They have to stay on a flat surface. And so it's like, I guess if you could fly, then you'd be fine.
Yeah. They haven't gotten that far yet. But,
yeah, but the whole Rithmatist's entire purpose is they go to a place called Nebraska where they've kind of contained all of these wild chalklings. And then they're required, they get chosen somehow. It's kind of vague how they're chosen by something called the Master, which kind of seems like they're religious something.
Yeah.
And then they're chosen, they're given powers as Rithmatists, and they are the only ones who can fight these chalkings, and they have to go serve for 10 years in Nebraska after they graduate. But anyways, this guy comes, Nalazar. He comes fresh off the battlefield and challenges Fitch. And Fitch is like an academic through and through. Like, he knows way more than Nalazar and is probably a better artist than Nalazar, but Nalazar is a better, more aggressive warrior and easily defeats Professor Fitch.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, he takes Professor Fitch's place.
Yeah, they've got the Rithmatists have just different,
like a different hierarchy.
It's almost like a different culture type of stuff. Like you know, like if we go to like our neighbor's house and fight them and win, we don't get to move into their house. Instead, it's like, no, we're gonna get like the police calling us and go to jail and stuff. This is not how this is. Like, they've got like the more barbaric rules where like you take what you
because
steal.
There's like this hierarchy.
Yeah.
And then like that hierarchy is determined, and you can challenge people and go through it.
Yeah, which would really suck, because if you're like Professor Fitch didn't do that. He spent
like
20 years working his way up to where he was at, and this douchebag just comes and takes everything. He takes his position, he takes his tenure, and Fitch has to become a lowly tutor that is like for... he's the oldest by far tutor now. The other ones are just these other young people who are just starting out in their careers and stuff.
And another interesting part is the principal, who's like the lead administrator of the whole school, was like, I don't know why you guys do this. Like, Fitch is my best scholar. Like, why does this duel have to even happen? And even Fitch was like, that's just our way. Like, he beat me, and now
he's way too. He defends Nalazar too much. When you're like, don't defend this son of a crap.
So Joel's first attempt is foiled because now that Fitch isn't a professor, he won't be able to grant his desire to study with him.
Yep. Because the class Joel wanted to join is now not Fitch's. It's not Fitch's anymore. Yeah.
And then we get our first taste of mystery. A student has gone missing, which we actually get a little piece of that at the prologue of the story.
The prologue is like...
Is it her name Lily? Right, Lily?
Sure. I don't know, I could look. But I love... This is how I like to start a book, honestly. It is Lily. It's where, like, you read maybe like the back of this book and like, what the heck is this book about? And you read the prologue and it's just like, what the frick is going on? Because you have no idea what Rithmatists really do, and then suddenly this girl is talking about stuff as if you did know the stuff. And so it just starts off as how I like it, where like you start off a fantasy book and you're just like, what is this world? I have no idea what's going on. It's like, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I really liked that too. So we find out that girl that was in the prologue, turns out she was a student at Rithmatist, and she's gone missing. And everyone's kind of like, what the heck? Because they discovered like she was like in her own house. They discovered like a circle around her, which is how Rithmatists defend themselves from chalking and other Rithmatists. They found that breached circle with like blood splatters, and she's gone.
Yeah.
There's no body, there's no nothing. And they're like, what the heck?
So it's literally just the blood spatters with this chalk circle.
So then it instantly becomes apparent that they're like, okay, this seems to obviously involve another Rithmatist that knows what's called the glyph of rending. So apparently, if you don't know the glyph of rending, the chalkings you draw can't interact with the real world, the real physical world. They can only interact with other chalk. But once you go to Nebraska, they teach you the glyph of rending, which allows your chalkings to interact with the real world, which up to and including messing people up, like killing them.
Right, and I think that's a really good little bit Brandon added into this, because it's like you can't just go around and teaching people how to shoot other people without like.
I think it was a good little ad for sure, like a good little safety, because otherwise you would have idiot teenagers who have
literally
the power over life and death, and if they, how teenagers are.
Yeah,
petty.
and then maybe there's probably teenagers out there who are literally just the worst and want to actually hurt other people.
Yeah. And then
but there's
like
definitely
accidents.
Teenagers who are just like stupid, like I wanna get you, and I mean maybe there might be even teenagers who are like Nalazar. Nalazar is like hardcore, like you people are not Rithmatists, piss off. Like he hates them. And he almost like he's totally like the Malfoy. This is another Harry Potter like the Rithmatists are like the purebloods, and everyone else is dirt, low life, nothing that need to stay out of his way, stay out of the Rithmatist way, and stop ruining the world, and blah blah blah. But I bet you there would be teenagers like him who would probably like harass the non-Rithmatists who can't defend themselves, and then maybe end up seriously hurting someone or even killing them.
No,
So
totally.
it is a good thing they don't teach them how to.
Not until they go to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So it seems like a full Rithmatist, I guess if you can call him that, is somehow involved. But we don't know what, we don't know how, and it's kind of all shrouded in secrecy and mystery because they're trying not to cause a mass panic. So
we got two mysteries that we kind of get, and so far we just don't really know a ton about Nebraska. All we know is that there's wild chalklings,
and they're somehow contained there, and if they don't have 24/7 Rithmatists there, they have like apparently a miles long circle around.
Yeah, Joel was saying it's like a circle as big of a city.
Yeah, they call it like the tower. Their chalklings come from the tower.
Yeah, and so the mystery with this is like there's not necessarily such a thing as wild chalklings.
Oh, they said they were wild chalklings.
Yeah, but someone's drawing them, right?
That's the point.
That's kind of what they said.
I was gonna make.
Like they say they're wild, but then they also are like, but we have no idea who's drawing them. Like, and so far, from what we've read, there's nothing in there that really says that there's actual wild chalklings running around that just are wild and like come. Like you think of a pack of deer, like there's deer out there who made other deer and they're all wild, but the deer are making themselves. If that makes any sense. Like having babies.
But like where chalkling only comes in existence if a Rithmatist draws them. Yeah, that's a good
exactly.
point.
So there's one mystery right there. Like what are these wild chalklings? Why are they like trying?
And how come they haven't advanced on like? Because they did say that they're trying to contain them. Like why haven't they taken any steps? Yeah, because they mentioned it's been at least 80 years. Because there's at one point where we'll get to this, but Joel has to go through census records of people, and he goes back to like pretty much the beginning, and it's been like 80 years he goes through.
So we got that big mystery. I'm like, what the heck is this place that all the Rithmatists have to go to help defend, and like all the questions surround that. And now there's a more immediate threat of whoever is abducting Rithmatist students.
And then thus hatches Joel's second plan, because then he thinks, wait, Professor Fitch is now a tutor, and tutors tutor students that fail their classes. So then he intentionally fails his history exam, which he's also a genius about and knows everything. But he gives like all these crap answers and gets sent to the principal's office. And the principal, his plan totally fails because the principal won't let him talk. And the principal starts to expel him. And then finally he's like, I failed it on purpose. And the principal's like, why would you do that? And he's like, because I really wanted to.
He caves and explains his plan.
And I love the principal's response. He's like, why didn't you just freaking talk to me? Like, he's like, Professor Fitch loves students. He loves teaching. And he probably would have no problem. I could have sent you over there. And Joel's like,
yeah. Which, like, that was two things that I liked, because, like, his math teacher had a totally different reaction than you would expect. And then the principal of the school had a different reaction, where it was just like, hey, you were a dumb kid and you should have talked to me.
But then he still gives Joel good consequences, because then he's like, okay, Joel, your test, you had 3 hours to take your test, or however long it was. There's 45 minutes left. If you can go back and convince your teacher to retake the test and you pass, then I won't expel you, and I'll let you I'll let you be tutored by Professor Fitch.
Yeah. Oh, and they do go through the whole thing where, like, the Rithmatists have their weird traditions, and you're not a Rithmatist, so you can't be tutored. But, like, this principal guy is like super chill and was like, but I actually just gave Professor Fitch a special assignment and he could use extra help, and I'll give you that position if you finish.
His
if you
research assistant,
research assistant if you can pass your history final. Yeah. And so
Joel runs, and then in 45 minutes he's able to ace the test. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he aced it, but he passes.
He passed it, at least. They didn't specifically say how good he did. I mean, like they said the teacher marked some things wrong and deducted points.
Then Joel was like, "Did I pass?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you write a note that I passed so I can get to the principal?"
Yeah, but that's as far as it goes.
And even that professor is like, "Would you be interested in studying with me over the summer?" So it's like, the professors obviously noticed his potential. He just doesn't. He just seems lazy, I think is what they're thinking.
Yeah.
But it turns out he's just like, he thinks this in his head at one point. He's like, if you would let me study what I want, then we would all be happy.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, he just kind of feels pigeonholed, I guess. It's like he has to do certain things, but he's like obligated to go, and his mother's working her butt off, and like, she works all night, and it's like, he's so poor that $1 a week seems like exuberant wealth. But all he wants to do is study arithmetics. But now on to the mystery, which kind of this kind of gave me like major Harry Potter vibes.
Oh yeah,
not like 100%, but just like kind of felt similar to me because a second student goes missing, and it turns out that the special assignment that Professor Fitch was given, that Joel's going to help with, is trying to find out who's doing it, and why they're doing it, and who they are, and how to stop them.
Right, because it sounds like the police force. They're not like Rithmatists.
Yeah, so they come to the university because they're like, this is obviously Rithmatist, and like we need an expert on this.
Yeah, so
and then the principal's like, perfect, my best professor just lost in a duel and now has all sorts of time to do this. And so Joel's to help with that, and then we kind of get some things on there, but also he has because Professor Fitch was going to actually tutor someone who's going to tutor a Rithmatist girl named Melody, who's like a super good artist. She can draw really good pictures, but she's just can't quite grasp lines, like circles and lines are forbidden and things like that. Like she really struggles, like, because apparently they're like really mathematically driven, like they have to be like perfect circles. If there's any weakness in the circle, or if the line's not straight, or if the arc isn't good, like the right degrees and angles, then it creates weaknesses, and that's the part that she's not good at. But she can draw like really good and really quickly detailed stuff.
Yeah.
So, and she likes unicorns.
Yeah, the clever sort.
I think it's funny because she's like, "What about these unicorns?" And she's like, "They're majestic animals." You're like, "But they're not real." And she's like, "You shut it."
Yeah, seriously.
But then they start an unlikely friendship because apparently they're both outcasts in a way.
Yeah.
Like she's the fourth Rithmatist in her family, and so her family kind of just shipped her off here. It seems like they don't really ever visit, not really a lot of communication.
Yeah.
And since she's not super good at arithmetic, she's not in with any other kids. They're Rithmatists. And
she doesn't even want to be a Rithmatist.
That's true.
But I think it's more because she's been forced into this, and doing the Rithmatist stuff the way the school does it and the way the school teaches it just doesn't flow for her and doesn't make sense to her.
Yeah.
So she hates it, but I think
it's cool because Joel's actually able to help her.
Yeah.
Like he understands so much of the theory of arithmetic that he kind of talks to her and helps her a little bit and teaches her a new type of defense that leans into her strengths of drawing chalkings. So they start this unlikely friendship, and they go and get ice cream together, which is when we see how poor in this world Joel actually is, because they go to this thing, and it's 9 cents a scoop for the ice cream. So like, in our terms, that's like mega freaking cheap. But Joel's like, I can't afford that. I can't afford that at all. And he has 1 silver penny that he got a year ago for his birthday. That's when we find out that she's like, oh, I have $1. I get $1 a week for my... We already talked about this, where he sees the dollar
coin. Yeah, and even
she,
her richness is like super not rich to us.
I know, because then, yeah.
I could not, even as a kid, $1 a week, not going to do nothing for me.
And then she's like, some kids get $10 a week, and Joel's like, holy crap.
Yeah, some of those other stupid rich kids.
But then their friendship does strengthen, because then at the end she's like, thank you for the ice cream. And she's like, you bought it. And she was like, no, thank you for like hanging out with me and being my friend.
Yeah.
it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, one of those
This is when I get the major Harry Potter vibes, like a mix between Chamber of Secrets and Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
It's like Chamber of Secrets because there's like magical students mysteriously disappearing and they're trying to find out why, and there's these couple of kids trying to figure it out along with the adults. And then Chamber of Secrets or Sorcerer's Stone, because at this point, almost at this point in the story, Joel's like, these disappearances happened like right when Nalazar got here. I bet this professor's behind it. I'm like, that's totally Professor Snape. And Harry going after Professor Snape. That's where the similarities end, though. I was like, this is freaking Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah.
But unlike Harry Potter, Joel comes forward to the main chief inspector and Professor Fitch, and he's like, dude, I suspect Nalazar. And they're like, no, he's a freaking hero. Like, he's saved hundreds of lives, and he's done like amazing things, and I'm like glad that he's here. And Joel's like, oh, bet, okay, cool.
Yeah. One thing I did like though is when he was bringing it up, like I don't remember who was with him, but
it was Fitch and the chief inspector.
It was just okay. So someone came to Nalazar's defense, like, no, he's a teacher here, and blah blah blah, and then like, but the chief inspector's like, no, we want to hear everything. We want to hear all these suspicions, and like, he doesn't immediately shut him down like he's some dumb kid. Yeah. And then he even still goes and like, he's saved many lives, including my own.
Yeah, but then Joel's still like, he's still suspicious.
I can't remember. Oh, he follows him around the library before he talks to the chief inspector.
Yeah, because he gets even more suspicious because apparently there's been lines that Fitch say aren't arithmetic lines, but Joel swears that he's seen somewhere in an arithmetic book, and then he sees Professor Nalazar check out a book called like Theoretical Arithmetics, and he's like, that's proof that he did these weird lines.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it'll end up being that he is the bad guy. I don't know. Like maybe he's trying to recruit Rithmatist of some cult or kind of cult of the week or something. I don't know.
I'm suspicious of him because who names a good guy Nalazar?
Right.
It's just have like bad guy vibes.
Like villain written all over him. And then the kind of near the end of part 2, parents come kind of in a panic, like understandably, which I actually thought made sense. Because in Harry Potter, people are missing left and right, and parents don't even say boo. Like when kids are being petrified and Death Eaters are taking over the school, parents are like, yeah, send your kids. I don't even give a crap. Like these parents are like, 2 kids go missing, and they're like, I'm taking my kid out of here. You guys obviously don't know what's going on. But unlike Hogwarts, they're going missing outside of the school and not inside the school, so it's kind of like reversed. But a reporter kind of mixed in with them and pretended to be a parent and got an interview with Fitch and kind of leaked the whole thing. And then part 2 kind of ends with like, everything had just changed. Now there's going to be like mass panic because people are going to be like, Rithmatist is killing people. And Rithmatists are kind of like held in, they're respected just as much as they're like mistrusted and kind of ostracized.
Yeah.
Just
they're
because
still kind of one of those things.
Yeah, which is kind of understandable. Whenever there's magic and non-magic people, the non-magic people always hate the magic people. It's just kind of like how the world works.
Yeah, it's the other way around too. Like there's magic people who just hate the non-magic.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is interesting. I didn't think about that, but there's definitely Harry Potter connections there, especially that where like there's just people who just really hate the non-magical world, and there's people like the Dursleys who just really hate the magical folk because they're freaks and such.
Yeah, Joel kind of notes it because when he's going with Melody to get ice cream, there's a lot of people that like nod or bow in respect. But there's also people that like glare and like murmur and mutter when they see her. So it's like,
yeah, because I think one of the problems Melody runs into that she really hates is like they talk about, and Joel's seen this too, where like people just think the Rithmatists have it made. They have the best lives. Then they have nothing to complain about. But then Joel's like, no. Like, how much harder they have to work at the school. And then I don't think he said this, but I was
because he was saying like, they don't even get summer break. He said.
Yeah, they don't get summer breaks. And then as soon as they graduate, they're shipped off to war for 10 years.
Even before they graduate. They're allowed. Before? Because when they're juniors, he said they do the melee. There's like a big competition with Rithmatists. And then they finish their 5th year in Nebraska and then serve for 10 years after that. So they're probably for like 11 years, mandatory.
And there's not been a ton of deaths, but it sounds like people die there. Yeah. You can get killed by chalk.
By chalk. Which is Salazar's whole thing. When he comes in, his whole reasoning is this school is starting to produce ill-prepared people who aren't ready to fight. And so he's like, I need to take over. And so that's why that's the reason he gives. But he's obviously just an arrogant bastard who just only is narcissistic and only cares about himself. Like, even though if his ideas maybe are like kind of true, it's like, yeah, well, maybe they need to be more, because Fitch is heavily into the theory of things. Like, even the thought of dueling like sends him into like a nervous shakes.
Yeah.
And he's trying to teach people to go on to a battlefront. So, like, I can understand Nalazar's point. It's just like the way he goes about it is kind of like...
Yeah. It's one of those things. I definitely think he's got a more narcissistic personality. He's a narcissist. Because he does, like, these things where, like, he can convince you that what he's doing is like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I can understand that. But it's still, like, you see his actions and how he treats other people.
Yeah, because, like, after he beats Fish, they're at dinner, and he's just, like, humiliating him in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And he's met Joel, like, 3 times, but each time he just doesn't notice him and forgets who he is and doesn't even notice that he's there. And
there was the other little thing that Joel noticed, that they wear different robes, too, when depending on your tier. So, like, I guess the higher tiers wear red robes. And to further humiliate Fitch, Nalazar, like, made him switch robes with him in front of the entire class. He also dueled in front of the entire class.
Right in the middle of his lecture, he just burst in and, like, like we're fighting, and started drawing a circle. And he's like, come on, we're doing this right now.
Yeah, which was so stupid, too. Like, he kind of cheated, in my opinion. He just burst in without giving any notice.
I know. There wasn't like, I challenge you to a duel and tomorrow at sunset. It was like, right now. And then Fitch was kind of like, well, I don't even know what the fuck. Okay.
Yeah. And apparently, even though this is like their tradition with the Rithmatist, it's been many years since the last duel happened.
Yeah, at Armedius at least. We don't know about the other schools.
Yeah, but at least this place.
Basically, Nalazar's a jackass, even if he has semi-good reasons. Like, his points make kind of sense. The way he goes about it and the way he presents himself is just kind of like,
yeah, but he just doesn't do things. And the way they talk about him too, like there's a part where Joel and Fitch are walking somewhere.
Oh, yeah, they're walking.
And then Nalazar is out, and he decided to have class outside, and he's like showing off his students and like how much better they are now, and crap like that, and. It was really just like in the narration where it was like, oh, he's even having class outside now just so he can show off and to really boost himself up more. He's not like actually like, I've got this class now and I'm going to make them good Rithmatists so they can defend this country and go fight in Nebraska and stuff. Like, he just is not doing the things that a teacher would do in order to help students. So he totally just trying to elevate himself.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Yeah, and they keep talking about him too, about how he wants to get control, and he's just doing this and that to get control, and I can't remember what he did. He did something to Melody to like humiliate her because he wanted more control. She was kind of saying, or the narration was saying. Yeah. Oh, and I think one of the other parts was like he doesn't want non-Rithmatists to bring messages from the office to like the professors. He wants a Rithmatist student to do it now.
So he makes Melody do it.
Yeah. Which is, he's just super stupid and has no interest in the actual well-being of people. This book is a prime example of Brandon's...
I'm kind of mad, though.
You're mad?
Well, I can tell that the whole thing isn't going to be resolved in this one book, or maybe it will be. I already know that because I've heard everyone who recommends this book to me. I always ask them, like, doesn't it end like on kind of a cliffhanger? And they're like, well, yeah, but. And I'm pretty sure I've heard Brandon in an interview say that he doesn't, at least for now, have any intention to come back to the Rithmatist.
Yes, I've heard updated information. Well, like I want to say at the last Dragonsteel, he, or somewhere in between then and now, he talked about that once Stormlight 5 is done, he's going to do this in the book and Rithmatist 2.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good at least. But like you said, it was published in 2014, so 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're just now reading it now. So I hope he gets into it. It seems like a really cool idea.
Yeah.
A really good world and a lot of places you can go. Like Joel can finish up school. You can go to Nebraska. You can go to all these different places. You can go. Like this could be almost as big as like his other books.
Yeah, exactly. He just needs to finish it. But it's.
But it's I don't think this isn't Cosmere, is it?
I've heard it's not.
Okay.
And it's kind of like based.
Cosmere.
It's kind of based in like the United States.
Yeah, it felt more.
So
like
it kind of feel like it's something more like that.
Or like Reckoners.
So I don't think I've heard some theories out there too that like maybe it was going to be Cosmere, but then he decided not to make it Cosmere or something like that. But
there are some interesting similarities between this and the Elantrian Aeons that I thought was kind of cool. Like I think my opinion is that Brandon really liked. I don't know, but I think Elantris came before this one, but I think that definitely influenced this. Because Elantrian is all about like you have to draw the Aeons and symbols like perfectly and really good, and even little tiny mistakes can mess it all up. And this is very similar.
Oh yeah.
Except with chalk instead of magical thingies.
Yeah. You know, would be really curious to see is like I just think to myself, what other author could do this? What other author could write about chalk and make it interesting and suck you into the story? And I'm curious if we're just like crazy Sanderson fans and like other Sanderson fans like it's fine.
After reading this book, the only Brandon Sanderson thing that I will have not read is White Sand. And every single one of those things I've read, I've just absolutely loved.
Seriously, yeah, I'm right there too.
And I don't know of any other authors that are like that. Like Anthony Reck, we just finished with Covenant of Steel.
I was literally
I really liked Bloodsong. Covenant of Steel was like, and like what?
It's definitely night and day. We already hammered this down pretty good when we were reading the Covenant of Steel. We're like, we could really happily recommend Bloodsong, and be like, this was a really good series, awesome, loved it. But then like Covenant of Steel, like
read it if you have like nothing
read
else
it if you want, but like it's not going to blow you away.
Yeah,
it's not
like
crazy. But like with Brandon, I definitely like if someone just goes to the bookstore and picks up a random book, like read it. It's so good.
Yeah, it has Brandon Sanderson's name on it. Read it.
Seriously,
you will not regret it.
I just like to second what Henry Cavill said in some interview whenever he did like anything by Brandon Sanderson is good. Anything by Brandon Sanderson is worth reading, 100%.
Yeah. I almost went to FanX. I was like so
close. I was tempted too.
Because in his weekly update, he was like, I'm doing autographs and you can get free tickets to get in line.
Yeah.
I was like, but then I didn't end up buying tickets. I don't even know if his book signing are probably already sold out.
Probably as soon as
they went live yesterday at noon, I think, or something like that. So they're probably all sold out by this point.
Yeah, probably. Dang it. But oh well, we'll see him at Dragonsteel. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, we'll see how this book goes. So far, 100% hasn't disappointed. We'll see how it ends. And my prediction is, I think I'm gonna go against the grain here. I think that it's gonna seem really like it's Nalazar, but then it turns out it's not Nalazar at the last second. I think Joel's gonna end up following Nalazar, and Nalazar's gonna be patrolling the street looking all suspicious, but it turns out Nalazar is just trying to take it upon himself to find the killer.
You think it's gonna kind of be like Snape, where like in Sorcerer's Stone, or in all the books really, it just seems like Snape is just really the villain, but then it's like, oh, he was actually trying to help Harry, and
he was like doing the whole time
and stop Quirrell.
Even in the 7th book, it was his Patronus that led to the freaking sword of Gryffindor. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's going to be very similar to that.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a prediction because I've already read this book like a year ago. So
you already know. So
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Any last thoughts about Rithmatist? I definitely want more from this world. Yeah. I don't want this to be the it. I want to know so much more because there's the Rithmatics and there's like insane technology with clockwork. Like how do the clockworks, like they wind it and it has light and they wind it and it has like almost sentience.
Yeah, and it can like I can't imagine winding a clock and having a horse to ride around on. Like what?
Yeah, and it's like okay. The one was a dragon. Remember that?
Yeah, which is insane. So I definitely agree with that. I would love to see more because it also like what intrigues me about this is like we have already gone to the story where Joel is really close to the end of his education. Like I don't know how long their schools are, but he's already done 4 years. So
I think it's 5 years.
Oh, so that's
Just
perfect.
like this
Like
9th, 10th,
another
11th, 12th. Yeah, it's like 1 year longer than that.
Yeah.
And he's 16, so he's...
Oh, so he's super close to his end of his education. So we already know that however many books this is going to be, if it's going to be like a 3-book series
It's
or
not
5
all
book,
going to be our medias.
right? He's going to finish his school and then he's going to be out in the world doing
another
stuff.
important thing I think to note is Joel. So there's like this big ceremony on July 4th when you become of age. I think is 8.
Yeah, 8.
And then you have to go through this like ceremony to see if you're a Rithmatist. And Joel missed that ceremony because his dad died. And when he tried to go do it later, the religious leader was like, "Oh, it's not necessary." So there is a chance that Joel may become a Rithmatist.
Yes.
If he like goes through that. I don't know if it'll happen in this book. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's like a possibility.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if that happened. And he's like, "I'm going to go through this chamber." And then the master's like, "Thou art the chosen one."
Yeah. Just says you're the chosen one.
And another thing I want to know, just because I like how Brandon Sanderson's like kept this really close. Like, not really close, I guess, but like definitely nods to like actual our world history. Like he mentions that in Europe, like there's a Europetania or Great Britannia or something, and it was ruled by a King George. But in this case, the Asian people in this, the Yosuans, I think, or something like that.
Something like that.
They invaded Europe and kicked King George out, and King George came to America and settled there and discovered Rithmatists. And so it's like it's kind of like similar to like because like King George was the one that was ruling when the colonies did Revolutionary War.
Yeah, but he put his own little spin on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of I kind of like that.
Yeah,
Let's kind of see what he does different with the Isles, the United Isles instead of the United States.
Yes, it's really nice. I think it's just clever the way he does that.
I'm excited to see more. Hopefully, it seems like we'll finish this book pretty quickly. Definitely by next week, we'll have the last book part of the book for you, and then we'll go from there. And hopefully, Brandon gets into the next books. Obviously, I want him to prioritize Stormlight.
Yeah,
which that's already done anyway. But
right. So I think he was saying the interview that I saw or the announcement on Ed Dragus or whatever is like, it's the era 2 of Stormlight is not going to be happening for like 10 years. He was saying, so like in between that time, somewhere in like that 10 years, he's going to work on Rithmatist 2, as well as like.
Isn't he doing Mistborn Arrow 3 too?
I think so, but he also talked about Elantris book 2 and 3. And some other stuff I don't remember.
And Isles of Emberdark. That's what he's working on right now on his weekly updates.
Yeah, he actually, in his one this week, said he's passed it on to his team or whatever. So
with they're probably going to revisions, right?
Yeah, probably. So I guess they're going to.
I thought that's what he was doing was the revisions.
Right, it was the revision, and he's done with that.
So, and then he says it's going to be like a year at least for that. For
so we're actually probably looking at a year. Like it'll be spring or summer next year by the time we get it.
So if you're religious, let's pray for Brandon's health so that he lives
right.
so that he lives long enough to finish all this crap.
Seriously.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It was fun. Join us next week to see how the Rithmatist concludes in our thoughts.
Yes.
Stay classy, bitches. You can edit out the bitches. All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. It's over.